The Johnsky is a YouTube channel run by and run for people over the age of 13. People under the age of 13 should click off of this video right now, or watch with a parent or guardian. Viewer discretion is advised.
You don't scare me!
Miltis freaking Tanay Milishman. My name is King Prime and welcome back to another video here on the YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at another Transformers Legacy figure, that being the Transformers Legacy Evolution Leader Class Transformers Prime Dreadwing. Before we take a look at Dreadwing himself, we'll take a look at what he comes in. Up here on the front we have a nice picture of Dreadwing in his vehicle and robot mode, absolutely kicking ass. On the side we have his name as well as his universe, and on the bottom we have Transformers Legacy Evolution as well as the Leader Class Hasbro trades and the plastic-free packaging stamp. On the side here we have the Transformers logo done up in red as well as the Takara Tomy and Transformers Generations trades. Up at the top here we have the Transformers Legacy Evolution logo again as well as the tech specs. On the side here we have Dreadwing's mugshot as well as his name in Cybertronian as well as a picture of his vehicle mode on the side there. On the other side we have that awesome piece of artwork for the newer Legacy Evolution figures that features Nemesis coming out of that portal with the ship from the G1 movie, as well as the Insecticons and the Junkhounds and stuff, as well as the seal of authenticity at the bottom. On the back here we have his name and the picture of the figure in vehicle and robot mode, as well as showing off the Evo Fusion gimmick, which I'll talk about a little bit later. 29 steps to convert, some legal jargon, and some more legal jargon, and that is about it. I say it in every single video, my friends, but you only really care about the packaging if you are an inbox or card collector, of which I am not. I'm here to open and review toys, and that is just what I want to do. Freeze frame.
How do I? Because I don't feel like I did it right the first time. It's a big thing.
Freeze frame on freeze, and here is Dreadwing out of packaging. Before we take a look at him, let's take a look at what he comes with. Of course, up first we do have this nice cannon that he comes with. He had this in Transformers Prime. It's sort of like a vented minigun cannon, although it's not a minigun. As you can see, where Skyquake's was a sort of like a greenish gray or an old gray kind of color, Dreadwing's is much nicer. It's a bluish gray and has a silver tone on the shroud of the barrel there going all the way around, as well as a tiny little bit of red inside to sort of emulate a glow perhaps from the inside bolts of the laser batteries. But pretty much everything from the barrel up is the same as the old mold, right down to the smaller detailing on the side and stuff like that. And of course, Dreadwing can hold this. Plug it into the bottom of his hand, plug it on to the handle, and there you have Dreadwing properly holding the cannon, which is good. Then the second and final accessory of the set is the sword that comes with Dreadwing, and this is actually Dreadwing's sword from the show. It was included in the Skyquake mold, however, it's actually Dreadwing's here, and it's cast in red, although it was metal in the show, so I don't know why they insist on doing that with some things, but of course, once you do that and make sure that the sword is all the way flipped out, you can have a good sword-wielding pose. However, unfortunately, the sword is still upside down. The hook goes forward where the edge of the blade is supposed to be. If this was able to turn around 180 degrees, it'd be perfect, but for whatever reason, this is the best you can get with the sword, which is unfortunate. It shouldn't be like this. And I don't know why they had to include these damn slots on the end of the thing here. I think it is for the Evo Fusion gimmick, where you have to plug the weapon into the gun in order for it to combine like this. But even then, most of the handle was left out of the back of the weapon, so I don't even know what it's for. But moving on to Dreadwing himself, as you can see, he is just a phenomenal recreation of his Transformers Prime self, down to the golden faceplate and the red cockpit. Of course, as I stated in my previous review, in the Skyquake review, the chest is not accurate to Transformers Prime. Rather, it's a Skyquake reference to the G1 toy. Dreadwing's was not like this, so this is just a carryover from the mold, because of course they were twins in Transformers Prime, and they're twins now. You get it. Moving on to the detail and stuff like that, his faceplate is gold with this nice trim of silver and gold going up either side of his head crests. His head is that same rich navy blue that we see on the rest of the figure, and he does have a little bit of light piping in there. I do believe it works. You just have to hit it at the proper angle. It's the exact same deal as Skyquake, however Skyquake is harder to see because he has yellow eyes. Dreadwing is red, therefore he has more visible optics when they're showing through. Also included, of course, is this awesome Seekers badge. At least I think it's the Seekers. That's what Dreadwing's role was in Transformers Prime. He was a captain in the Seekers. And so he has this sort of Decepticon air wing badge on his chest there, which is really awesome. It's also on the back of his wings, upside down, perhaps as a reference to the original G1 toy, for the Seekers at least, not for Dreadwing. But moving down, however, he is pretty much just the same figure as Skyquake that we previously looked at. He just has the, of course, shoulder pads that are fixed on those arms that are attached to the backpack. He has gold trim around the edge of his gauntlet here, as well as the blue armor going down to his thighs, which are mostly cast in gray or a very dull silver plastic. There's a little bit of silver on his chest, around his sigil there with the lighter and the darker gray respectively. On the back there's a little bit more silver detail, but we'll get more into that when we get into transformation. As for the articulation, Dreadwing does have a full ball joint at the head, as well as a tiny little swivel joint there at the base of the neck, which kind of moves around whenever you move the ball joint. His shoulder pieces are on hinges and a little ball joint right in there, so you can get some pretty good posing out of these just to get them out of the way to manipulate the arms, which are on a ratchet there. And as you can see, they're starting to squeak. You can tell that those ratchets are starting to go, just like the Skyquake ones are broken now, but the Dreadwing ones are strong for now. Until that goes, he does have a full range of motion at the shoulders if you get the arms out of the way, out, in, all the way around. He has an upper bicep swivel, which is kind of hard to get at because this butterfly joint keeps getting in the way and moving things out. He has a double jointed elbow, which can get a pretty great extension in there, as well as a wrist swivel. But if you unfold this panel that covers up the gap, you can get an in and out if you so desired. Dreadwing does also have a waist swivel, 180 degrees, as well as a soft ratchet at the hips, which can go all the way forward, all the way back, and then some. I mean, you can really get him kicking all the way, even if you untransform him, as well as all the way out. He also has an upper thigh swivel, as well as a double jointed knee bend, which is fantastic. He has a toe up and down, and unfortunately a very lax ankle pivot. This is about as far as you can get, and even then that's pushing it. It's really only supposed to go about that far, but it's there. It's good that it's included. To bring in some figures for comparison to Dreadwing, our previous Transformers Legacy review and his brother Skyquake, as you can see, they are exactly the same, just different colors. And here he is next to a little Lego minifigure such as Batman. So as you can see, very tall, of course, for a leader price point, even though this would have probably been what I would have referred to as a Voyager back in the day. He's a leader class now, and so he is aptly sized to be that. But that's about it for the size comparison. Let's move on to the transformation so I can show you exactly how Dreadwing works. Freeze frame.
You will be my girl, my girl, my girl.
Freeze frame and freeze. So to transform Dreadwing, if you watched the Skyquake review, you'll know what's going on here. It's exactly the same transformation. We'll once again start with the bottom because it's going to be the most complex thing to do in the long run. Just get his arms out of the way firstly and extend his feet down. Come around to the back and unfold either of these wings. As you can see, there are slots right there on the bottom of each of his calves, right near the ankle. This little tab will go right into there and tab into place. You're going to want to rotate his waist 180 degrees and then probably rotate it again to 90 degrees because of the step we are about to do. Come to the backpack and split it right down the middle, like so that either of the sides of the wings can flow freely, and then swing down on these arms that are connected to the sides of the torso right here on pins. and get all the way to the front like so. Swing that around and under like so. Get his arms behind those wings. You can then at this point fold out the nose cone all the way, extend it if you so choose, and fold up the landing gear. Eventually we'll work on the head, but so far just get the shoulder pieces out of the way and we'll come back down to the bottom. At the wings, you see that there are these red pieces here that will become the rear part of the jet, kind of where Needle Nose would plug in if I actually had Needle Nose and cared about him. Rotate both of those 180 degrees, and then fold these two pieces together over the robot mode chest to hide it. Tab that together like so. And those two red pieces that were sticking out the back of the thruster here will then cover up and blend in to the chest, which sticks through after that. Fold up the wings just to get them out of the way. We're going to come around and work on some other stuff again. Come to the arms, untab those panels and unfold them, and then fold in the fists. Just make sure that they are straight enough to do so. Unfold the panel, fold in the fists. Then you're going to want to bring in the arms as best you can. As you can see, there are tabs and there are holes on the arms. Tab those together. Truthfully, it is most likely going to come untabbed sometime during the transformation, but you might have problems with it otherwise. So to help that, fold up the double jointed elbows. As you can see, they are on a pin there and a pin at the bottom of the elbow joint right there. Just fold them up and press them in so that they are kind of immobilized and can't wiggle all that free. This is something that I learned since I filmed the Skyquake review. And then fold them down all the way you can. From here, you can rotate the waist 180 degrees for the last time, and then come back around to face the rear of the waist. From here, all you're going to want to do is rotate the hip all the way up, and then rotate at the thigh 90 degrees so that the outer thigh plate is now facing you. Fold that up on that joint so that the rear thrusters are now facing the back of the vehicle. Do the exact same thing on the other side. Fold it all up. And then if you come up to the front here, and I'll get in real close, you can see that on the calf here, there is a little slot there. On the wing, there's a little tab. Plug that into that so that it stays nice and secure. Do the exact same thing on the other side. Make sure that those rear wings stay in place, and then make sure that these back rudders are folded up nice and tight. From here, you can angle the wings tips, which I usually do. And then finally, come up back to the front where the nose cone has just kind of been hanging out. As you can see, there's a little tiny slot right in here where this slot and groove will go into and tab in. Just make sure that everything stays flush once you do that. Come back to the sides here where the shoulder pieces are hanging out, fold them back, and tab them in to either side of the vehicle mode. And that, if everything stays together and stays where I want it to stay, should be all you need to do to transform Dreadwing. Of course, being a jet, this figure does, of course, have landing gear, so I'll fold those down now and fold that down again. So there you go. And that is a completed vehicle mode. As you can see, I just think that Dreadwing wears the mold a lot better than Skyquake did. The rich blues and the reds and the golds really accent this mold a lot better than it did for Skyquake. Not to say that Skyquake is a bad looking figure, he's not. It's just that I think that Dreadwing does it a whole lot better. As you can see, the gold is near the end there with the thrusters, which of course there is this one that has the red glow, which is very cool, as well as these ones back here. The ones that are on the back of the engines here on the side, which are coming unpegged, which is annoying. There's of course the two tabs here that would plug into Needle Nose. If I had Needle Nose, I don't care about him. And then of course there's the red striking cockpit at the front here with the gold tip. So that's really nice looking. There's of course some more studded detail in this wing, which luckily on this copy doesn't fall off as much as it does on Skyquake. The intakes there are painted in silver and it's very nice. To bring in a comparison to Dreadwing, here he is next to his brother, right there. And as you can see, they do look very nice together in vehicle mode, just as they did in robot mode. And here he is next to little Lego minifigure, such as Batman. As you can tell, obviously not to scale, but it gives you a good sense of how this vehicle stacks up to the other one. These are literally exactly the same mold. They do the same things, even down to the same gimmicks, such as the weapon storage being right underneath the tail of the jet. In this mode, it still wobbles. It's not really the best storage, but it is something you can do if you so choose. I just don't like to do it because I think it's bad storage. But just because it has bad storage does not mean that it's a bad figure by any means, which we'll talk about a little bit more in my final thoughts. I think that that's enough comparison for one video. Let's get on to my final thoughts so I can tell you exactly what I think about Dreadwing Freeze Frame. Freeze him unfreeze. So overall, I enjoy Dreadwing a whole lot more than I enjoy Skyquake. I think that's primarily because the QC on this particular figure is a lot better than it was on the copy I received of his brother, which is really not a dig against Skyquake at all. Unfortunately, the mold of the figure can't decide whether or not it's going to be quality or not when it leaves Hasbro's warehouse. It can only decide on that when it's in my hands, and unfortunately, Skyquake decided to be bad. Dreadwing decided to be a lot better. That being said, I do still have my complaints about this figure. I don't like the weapons, which isn't that big of a deal, but something that is a big deal is that I cannot stand this connection right in here. And I've talked about this in the Skyquake review a little bit. This little nose cone piece that connects right on top of his waist right here always comes untabbed. There's only two little teeth in there that slots right into this hole, and it's so incredibly easy to just come out of that hole. It's very annoying. I hate that connection. I wish there was actually a solid connection for it, but unfortunately there is not. That connection really gave me a hell of a time during the reviewing and filming of this figure. However, that does not mean that this figure is bad. I don't think it's bad. In fact, I would still recommend this figure to any Prime fan or anyone wanting to bulk up their Decepticon Airwing collection. Dreadwing would fill that gap very well. He looks great, he feels great, and though his accessories are kind of mid, I really hate that sword. The cannon is very nice and still very reminiscent of his original Transformers Prime cannon. This figure is by no means perfect, but for its purpose that it is fulfilling, at least in this role, it is perfectly fine by me. So if you like Dreadwing, or you like Decepticons, Transformers Prime, Transformers in general, make sure you share this video with your friends, share the Facebook groups, all that good stuff. If you like the content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. It keeps helping the channel grow. It keeps helping me pump out this content. That's going to be pretty much it this time, my friends. Thank you all so very much for watching, and as always, peace.